For over 75 years, the USS Hornet was a ghost.
American military history lost deep in the South Pacific. The Japanese sank the aircraft carrier in October of 1942.
A legendary World War II aircraft carrier that vanished beneath the waves of the Pacific, taking its secrets with it. Many believed it was lost forever, a mystery too deep to solve. But recently, an advanced underwater drone pierced the 17,000-foot deep darkness and laid eyes on the impossible. The discovery of the sunken USS Hornet CV-8 was just the beginning. What the drone's cameras revealed on its deck was so perfectly preserved and so eerie, it left the entire crew of explorers completely stunned and speechless. A legacy sealed in 16 months. Her legend began almost immediately. To put it mildly, the Hornet was thrown right into the thick of it. Just a few months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, America was desperate for a victory, a way to strike back and boost morale. That's when one of the most audacious plans of World War II was born, the Doolittle Raid. The plan was crazy, to say the least. It involved launching 16 Army B-25 bombers, planes never designed for carrier takeoffs, from a ship and sending them to bomb Tokyo. The thing was, no carrier had ever attempted something so risky. But the Hornet was chosen. On April 18, 1942, under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle, those bombers roared off her flight deck, stunning the world and proving that the heart of Japan was not untouchable. It was a massive psychological victory, and the Hornet was at the center of it all. Many people are crazy about the Hornet because of what came next. Just 2 months later, she sailed into the Battle of Midway, arguably the most important naval battle in American history. Alongside her sister ships, the Enterprise and the Yorktown, the Hornet's air groups helped deliver a devastating blow to the Japanese fleet, contributing to the sinking of 4 of their most powerful aircraft carriers. This victory completely shifted the balance of power in the Pacific. In just a few months of service, the Hornet had already participated in 2 of the most pivotal moments of the war. She wasn't just a ship anymore. She was becoming a symbol of American resilience. But not all things are what they seem, and victory in the Pacific always came at a steep price. The Hornet's luck began to run out during the brutal Solomon Islands campaign. By October 1942, she was one of the last remaining operational American carriers in the South Pacific, a prime target for a determined enemy. At the Battle of the Santa Cruz Islands, her time came. In a ferocious onslaught, Japanese dive bombers and torpedo planes swarmed the Hornet. She took hit after hit. Reports say she was struck by multiple bombs and 2 aerial torpedoes in a matter of minutes. Fires raged across her decks and she lost all power, dead in the water. Her crew fought heroically to save her, but the damage was just too great. The order was given to abandon ship. Even then, the Hornet refused to go down easily. American destroyers tried to scuttle her with torpedoes and gunfire to prevent her from falling into enemy hands, but the tough carrier absorbed the punishment and stayed afloat. It was only after Japanese destroyers found the drifting, battered hulk that they fired their own torpedoes, finally sending the legendary ship to her final resting place. Her career lasted only 16 months, but her legacy was forever sealed. Her story became a legend, but her exact location remained a mystery, swallowed by the immense Pacific Ocean. The needle in an ocean haystack. For more than 75 years, the USS Hornet was more than just a shipwreck. It was a ghost story. She rested somewhere in a vast, dark, and unforgiving part of the world known as Iron Bottom Sound, a name given to the waters around the Solomon Islands because of the sheer number of ships and planes that went down there during the war. Finding one specific ship in this underwater graveyard, especially one 3 miles deep, was considered an impossible task. The search area was massive, hundreds of square miles of uncharted seabed. The thing nobody tells you is that at these depths, there's no light, the currents are unpredictable, and the water pressure is an astonishing 8,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush most submarines, like a soda can. What many overlooked is that technology was catching up to the mystery. The search was undertaken by the crew of the research vessel Petrel, a state-of-the-art exploration ship funded by the late Paul Allen. This wasn't a treasure hunt, it was a mission of historical preservation. The team's first job wasn't at sea, but in dusty archives. They spent months poring over declassified naval records, ship logs, and battle reports from both American and Japanese forces. They pieced together 9 different eyewitness accounts from the ships that saw the Hornet in her final hours. You see, each report had slightly different coordinates. By cross-referencing all of this data, they created a grid, a starting point for their search in the vast, empty ocean. It was a staggering feat of historical detective work. With a probable search zone mapped out, the high-tech hunt began. The RV Petrel is equipped with an autonomous underwater vehicle, or AUV. This wasn't your average drone. This was a sophisticated 20-foot-long robotic submersible designed to operate completely on its own in the deepest parts of the ocean. The team programmed the AUV with the search parameters and sent it on its mission into the abyss. For hours, it glided about a mile above the ocean floor using advanced side-scan sonar to paint a picture of the terrain below. The crew on the Petrel could only watch and wait, hoping for a sign, any anomaly that looked different from the surrounding mud and rock. It's a slow, meticulous process, to put it mildly. They covered over 600 square miles of seafloor, scanning day and night. Then on one of its very first missions in the designated search area, the AUV picked up something. It was a faint, ghostly image on the sonar readouts, but it was unmistakably man-made. It had the length and width of an aircraft carrier. The excitement on the ship was electric, but they needed visual confirmation. This is where the next piece of incredible technology came in: the remotely operated vehicle, or ROV. Unlike the AUV, the ROV is tethered to the ship by a fiber optic cable and controlled in real time by a pilot. It's equipped with powerful lights and high-definition cameras. The team carefully plotted the coordinates from the sonar hit and began the painstakingly slow descent, a journey that takes hours to complete. As the ROV neared the 17,500-foot mark, the ocean floor materialized out of the darkness. And then they saw it. A massive, silent shape resting upright on the seabed. It was the Hornet. The drone found its target, but what it was about to see would change everything they thought they knew. Frozen in a moment of chaos, as the ROV's lights cut through the eternal darkness, the crew of the Petrel stared at their monitors in stunned silence. They weren't looking at a mangled pile of rusty steel. What they saw was a ghost ship, eerily intact and frozen in time. The first shocking sight was a 5-inch anti-aircraft gun turret. Its twin barrels were still elevated, aimed toward a sky they hadn't seen in over 7 decades, as if still defending the ship from its final attack. What many overlooked is just how perfectly preserved it was. The intense cold, lack of light, and low oxygen levels at that depth had created a near-perfect state of preservation. It was a time capsule from 1942. The drone drifted over the flight deck, revealing one unbelievable sight after another. There, sitting upright as if waiting for its next assignment, was an International Harvester aircraft tug tractor. You see, these small vehicles were used to move planes around the deck. This one sat perfectly on its wheels, its red paint still faintly visible under the marine growth. It was a mundane piece of equipment, but seeing it there, 3 miles underwater, was surreal. It was a powerful reminder of the human life that once bustled on these very decks. The scene was so clear you could almost hear the echoes of the engines and the shouting of the crew, but the most stunning discovery was yet to come. Nearby, the ROV's cameras settled on an aircraft. It was a Grumman F-4F Wildcat fighter plane. And here's the part that truly shocked everyone. Its wings were still folded back in the storage position, exactly as they would have been in the hangar bay. The plane hadn't been on the flight deck. It had been pushed out of the hangar by the force of the explosions and the ship's sinking. The U.S. Navy roundel, the star insignia, was still clearly visible on its fuselage. It was a chilling, beautiful sight. A war machine resting in absolute peace. The exploration continued, revealing more haunting details. The ROV glided past the ship's island, or command tower, which had been torn away and lay on its side nearby. On the hull of the main ship, the faint but unmistakable stencil of the number 8 was still there, confirming her identity as CV-8. The team even found one of the ship's Hellcat aircraft, which had been introduced later in the war, sitting on the seabed some distance away. But what made the discovery so personal were the small things. In one area, the camera spotted a wash kit, a small bag containing a toothbrush, and other personal effects. It was a direct link to one of the sailors who had served and perhaps perished on this very vessel. The ship was not a ruin, it was a memorial. Every detail from the guns to the aircraft to the personal items told the story of its final chaotic moments. It was a scene of destruction, yet also one of incredible preservation. The drone revealed the ship's last moments, but what about the men who experienced them? Their story was still untold. A sacred site is honored. The discovery of the USS Hornet wasn't just a technical achievement, it was a profoundly human event. It reconnected the present with a past that was fading from living memory. When the news broke, there was only one known living survivor from the Hornet's final day, Richard Nowatzki. He was 95 years old, but his memory of October 26, 1942, was crystal clear. He was just an 18-year-old gunner's mate back then, and he vividly recalled the chaos. He described the sound of the bombs as they tore through the ship's decks, a terrifying plink, 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 followed by an earth-shattering explosion that made the entire 25,000-ton carrier shake. When the exploration team showed him the first footage from the ROV, something incredible happened. The camera focused on a 5-inch gun mount, and Nowatzki pointed at the screen, his voice filled with emotion. "That was my gun," he said. He was looking at the very spot where he stood fighting for his life all those years ago. It was a moment that bridged 77 years of silence. With a bit of dark humor that only a veteran could have, he joked with the researchers, "If you find my locker, there's $40 in it. You can have it." His reaction put a human face on the discovery, reminding everyone that this wasn't just a wreck. It was a home, a workplace, and a battlefield for thousands of young men. But this is where the story takes a somber turn. The USS Hornet is more than just a historical artifact. It is a war grave. 140 sailors lost their lives during her final battle. For their families, the discovery brought a sense of closure that had been missing for generations. Their loved ones were no longer lost in an unknown part of the ocean. They had a final, dignified resting place. The U.S. Navy and the exploration team have treated the site with the utmost respect. The exact coordinates of the wreck are kept secret to protect it from scavengers. Under the Sunken Military Craft Act, the site is legally protected. Nothing can be disturbed or removed. The mission was to find and document, never to salvage. The thing is, now that we can reach these places, we have to ask ourselves some hard questions. Is it right to visit these underwater graves? Are we honoring the fallen, or are we disturbing their final peace? People watching this are looking for a mystery, and the Hornet provides one. But the real mystery isn't just how the ship sank, or how it stayed so well preserved. The Hornet has been found, but countless other wrecks remain lost. Should we seek out every sunken grave, or are some secrets better left to the silence of the deep? Let us know your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.